Vengeance and Discipline Priest. The VIPs of this season's M+ meta are going to be dissected today because I don't feel they deserve it. No. I'm just joking. Of course they deserve it.
They're so good, man. I don't know.
I know.
There's a lot of reasons, obviously, and people really focus a lot on the meta, and this is not really to endorse that, but more to explain why they're so good, and maybe we can trickle these talking points to you, playing better and getting more people into your groups, and maybe, playing other specs as well.
Yes, because both Vengeance and Discipline Priest, as opposed to some of their DPS counterparts, can do well in low keys as well, okay? So these specs are, I would say, very good from +2 to +20.
To plus infinity.
But I guess we can start it off with Discipline Priest.
Sure.
Because it was my main... it still is my main, but I was going to say it was my main, way before it was considered meta or whatever. I did decide to play a healer. I tried out Holy on the PTR. I kind of liked it, but then I fell in love with Void Weaver for forever. Things have changed till then. But okay, so
big shields.
The biggest thing about Discipline Priest being so good, I feel, is the fact that it's the most preventive type of healer in the game. Yeah. It's always better in Mythic Plus to prevent damage, reduce damage, absorb damage, than to directly heal it. Now, do keep in mind, this is not necessarily the case for Void Weaver Priest. This is all about Oracle Priest.
Okay.
Void Weaver can also prevent in that sense, but it doesn't have the same absorb.
Yeah, so so I was gonna ask, you're talking about the full absorbs, because Discipline has always had the kit of damage prevention. It's one of the healers with power word barrier and pain suppression, which are really good historically. Whenever the healers have been close in terms of tuning, the preventative healers are usually going ahead of the curve and pushing content, because you don't have to heal the damage that you don't take.
Exactly. That's the biggest point. That's also why it makes it such an efficient healer. Yeah. In terms of mana. Now, of course, you're gonna go out of mana if you're gonna run into a party where everybody is just taking all the unnecessary damage, not using defensives. You're gonna run out. But generally, if you play with a decent enough comp, with decent enough players, you're never going to run out of mana. I've never had this on any healer ever, okay? So that also makes it very efficient because you don't have to stand there and cast, expensive heals. You deal a lot of your healing through damage, although I do want to bust out the myth that Discipline Priest, at least Oracle, doesn't contribute with damage. It's one of the weakest points of it.
Yeah, okay? I was gonna ask, for people who probably haven't played Discipline or looking to play Discipline, or maybe people who play with a Discipline need to understand how it works. How do you heal when there's no target?
Well, that's where the beauty of Oracle actually comes in. Because as opposed to Void Weaver and the most traditional style of healing with this priest through the years, with Oracle you can spot heal a lot. You have more focus on crit, and crit on Flash of Lights gives you big ass instant heals. It's not the ideal playstyle. You have to have targets around, that's a given. And you have to heal through your atonement. I'm not going to go into how this place works. I made a video on that. But suffice to say, this is, I think, the most versatile healer in the game at the moment, just because it has access to so many combos to address different situations. I think this is the beautiful part of Oracle Priest. Even though they nerfed it a lot, it's still very good in that department.
Oh yeah, that's actually what's interesting, because I also attempted to heal a little bit on my Resto Shaman, and I encountered some bosses that were very difficult to get through, and some mechanics that were really punishing. Luckily, since we played so many keys together, I kind of knew, okay, this shit is happening. People are dying here.
It helps.
But how do you approach some of the more difficult bosses? I think Floodgate has a bunch of nasty ones.
Oh yeah. Well, this was basically the greatest examples of combos you can do with Oracle. Comboing premonitions with different cooldowns and stuff. So, and I haven't seen this on any healer. Thinking about you mentioned Floodgate, Big Mama. Big Mama has the huge AOE phase, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of healers know how to address this, but you have to combo your abilities as an Oracle to always have something for the next AOE phase and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, that's the thing, because obviously having something for when shit happens is, any healer can do that, but when that has to happen again and again and again, you have to pace your cooldown somehow. You have to plan ahead. That's
kind of the skill element for Discipline Priest. For that AOE phase, usually I don't want to go into my big premonitions like Insight or Clairvoyance, right? I go for the Piety premonition, which is basically the increase in heal with uppies.
All right,
that's super heal. Uppies on its own is shit, But with Piety,
Sounds
it's
cool.
giga great. And once you land down, you can throw in another penance as well. And everybody's like fine. One of the nastiest dots in the game, it's on the first boss of Cinderbrew, the throw Cinderbrew mechanic.
Oh.
There's 2 buffs going on 2 players, right?
Oh,
and those are
right.
very, very nasty.
Are those the nastiest ones?
That's how I feel like the
Eek.
nastiest are in the game. You can talk about the Gigazaps from the last boss in Floodgate, but these are the ones. So another combo you can do here is like, you Radiance, you do a Mind Blast, either Premonition of Insight or Clairvoyance. I don't know if you're familiar with these.
Those are words I've heard before.
Yeah, but that will translate into some big fat shields. So because of the nature of that dot being so punishing, well, talking about mid to high keys, you want some giga fat shields on those targets regardless of what spec they are. So that's another combo. Bubbles in Floodgate, which is another.
We all love bubbles.
Yeah, you usually use Premonition of Insight here or Clairvoyance. These are the big guns because that is like one huge AoE hit. But you're gonna struggle if 3 phases go up, right?
Okay.
Because you never kill it after the first AoE phase. Sometimes we tend to like have at least 2 phases of that AoE, right? So if you use your Premonition of Insight or Clairvoyance, it's gonna be very, very hard. So you can use Piety. Once again, Piety is considered to be one of the, not so important, but it is a heal buff. And that, with Evangelism, is basically a AoE lay on heads.
Oh damn!
Yeah, because you won't have anything else to juggle it. So people will take the damage. Let's say that's the third AoE hit. Everybody's gonna be down, panicking or whatever. But the boss is gonna die. Once everybody's down, you hit that Piety and that Evangelism. That's basically AoE lay on hands.
I always have this dilemma as a DPS player, and whenever I go into healing as well. When you have these situations, whether it's Bubbles or the boss on the Cinderbrew first, how do you juggle people's defensive versus your healers? Because you probably don't want to stack them, right? You don't want somebody to pop a defensive and then you pop your healing cooldown, and then maybe a phase comes when there's nothing available.
It always helps. It always helps. The thing about Oracle is, you can do a lot of like AoE healing, but you also do a lot of spot healing as well with penance, like single target penance on people. So it doesn't really matter. If people use defensives, that's basically, that gives me another room to put an extra shield maybe on the tank, maybe on myself. I'm a squishy motherfucker. Priests are very squishy. That's one of the biggest negatives.
It's not a surprise.
You can get, as a priest, you can get one shot in a lot of places. You have to be very careful. This is one of the biggest negatives. You have a lot of tools for it, especially as Oracle. The shields on yourself are way more potent. Well, that's good, but you don't always shield yourself all the time because you have people that take shit damage.
It's a good thing to play in a season where it's been very prominent, where people just die, and the most important thing in keys is to survive, not necessarily to do enough damage. Yeah. And the fact that a squishy healer can be meta, that kind of brings a little bit of hope for a lot of other specs to be able, because like if we're talking about the top comps that run Discipline Priest, they will also run a Boundary, which is also squishy.
Oh yeah, of course. So, you've seen them with fucking enhancement shamans.
And shamans as well.
There's a lot of squishy targets being played around Discipline Priest, which makes it that much more challenging and fun at the same time. Obviously, I feel priests bring like a lot of great utility to like dungeons, master spell, power infusions, dominate mind, leap of faith. There's so many cheeses you can do with a lot of these abilities, but it is very squishy, and you feel that squishiness the more and more you go in keys higher up.
True.
It's like very immobile. I would say, fuck that feather. It's no good. it struggles with mobility as well. Plus,
it's always been an issue. Yeah,
you have no kicks. You have no cursed spells, and those are really important in this season. So it's not like you can see it's not a perfect spec, and it was nerfed, but it's still. It
just goes to show like the things that it does so well, despite not having all of these other things that maybe a lot of healers take for granted, like being able to be tanky or having a lot of mobility or because my Tiger's Lust have your name on it.
And I appreciate it. No, but you notice the small things, right? Like a healer who can actually like decurse, for example, doesn't have to go through the trouble of healing through that decurse, while I have to go through the trouble of healing that curse.
Or maybe trying to form a party with a decurse available, because at some point that might be an actual issue.
We had a lot of parties where we didn't have a decurse. And that's the difference, right? It is meta, but you do have to heal to that damage, which is an extra layer on top of your
It is meta
problems.
and it matters.
It matters, yeah.
But how much is that, all of those issues alleviated by the fact that Vengeance is so tanky and has so much self-heal?
That's the best part about this pair, because as a healer, like when playing with Vengeance DH in multiple keys, I can like swear to God, there's no other tank that I need to pay attention less than a Vengeance DH. It's so good. Like I rarely have to put a single power word shield on him. My healing usually goes through a tournament and that's it. Sometimes maybe a pain suppress once in a full moon where it doesn't have, but it's so good. It's so mobile. It has so much CC, so much self-sustain.
It feels like it's like the opposite in terms of utility.
Yeah, exactly. No,
and I've played Vengeance because I'm a tank fan, and I've played all of the tanks so far, and Vengeance should not be legal. Listen, I don't think this is not in the discussion of these specs or particular Vengeance in this context needs to be nerfed, because I think this is what makes games fun. And I feel like if a lot of the tanks would be tuned in a way where Vengeance is tuned to be less self-reliant, and that's an important part to talk about, more people would play tanks. We wouldn't have this tank issue where I don't know what the problem with your pug experience is, but when we're not playing our keys together, I find the hardest to find is a good tank rather than a healer. And that just means it's not necessarily that all tanks are bad. It's just that probably the good tanks just are fed up with all of the bullshit that goes around, because there's so many issues that Vengeance just does not encounter. Vengeance is obviously very tanky, and with its cooldowns, it can roll out pretty much 100% uptime on its strong defensives, plus the way that it's been working for the past 6 months, ever since the War Within launched.
6 months.
6 months. It's in Romanian, by the way. Most tanks just want to gear a lot towards parry and crit in general. And that parry essentially just lets you tank a lot of the stuff that you're not supposed to be able to survive with, because it just negates damage, but that's one part of it. The other part, which is very interesting, is this self-sustain that you essentially talked about.
I mean, it reminds me of DK, of Blood Decay in that regard, but Blood Decay, like the difference, from what I've seen from a healer's perspective, like if a Blood Decay messes up his procs, cooldowns, whatever, he dies. Whereas a Vengeance DH, I didn't see that much room of, like, I've seen DHs fucking up, but I've seen him recover much faster than a Blood Decay. That's what I'm saying. So self-sufficiency is comparable with the Blood Decay, but I feel at this moment, Vengeance DH is like way less punishable, and I don't feel it's that hard to play. It doesn't look...
It's tricky, because I guess it depends on the player base. Vengeance Demon Hunter can get those moments when you just get one-shots, and it happens to me a lot, and it has to do a lot with how Vengeance actually pulls, and getting into the groove of using your sigils properly and your glaives properly can be tricky, because you cannot leap into packs, since you might get hit in the back, and that will essentially kill you. If you drop your parry in an unfortunate time, you will also die very, very quickly. Vengeance still retains its usually squishiness of, oh, if I don't have this up, I will just flop instantly. But, like you said, it does have catch-up mechanics. First of all, the cheat death is actually really good, and possibly the biggest thing that, in my opinion, pushes Vengeance so hard this season is the tier set. Vengeance are undeniably the biggest tier set winners. It's unreal. Just think about it this way. But I think Paladin procs Ancient Kings for a couple of seconds, which is just DR. I'm pretty sure it might have like another little tiny effect. But what Vengeance gets is, first of all, it gets a meta proc. And meta proc means a 30% boost in heal. You heal. You heal through it.
I know.
Obviously, you get the armor and all of that. But you do that. And you also proc a full reset on the Hunt, which actually activates your Eldrachi Reaver Glaive, which activates your entire hero talent. And I've had playstyle. I don't know if we can show this, if we have this on screen, where I got about 3 back-to-back the Hunt resets, and it's like 1 minute cooldown. It's like Hunt Glaive combo, and they just did that again and again.
Also, man, the sigils. The sigils are so good for Mythic Plus. All of those, like comboing all of those and locking down so many groups of mobs. It's incredible. No other tank can do this. This also goes into like,
it's very close. It's that's actually what Prot Warrior also has been starting to do, because it's the only other tank with an AoE silence, and it's been one of the reasons why it can climb up high, and it just points out as to why Vengeance is so good, why it has been meta for the last 2 seasons of Dragonflight, and essentially is just like a representation of the player's will to have fun in dungeons when you just want to pool a lot, and then Vengeance just brings the tools, and I think that's great. And you know, the fact that you can lock down an entire pack with 4... how many other 4 total AoE crowd control abilities, so that your DPS can just like go like
silence, grip, fear, stun, Chaos Nova. So yeah, it's 4.
That's basically it. And as a DPS player playing with a Vengeance in my team, I cannot tell you, especially when I'm on my mage, how good it feels to know, like, okay, I can just do my burst and I have to like stop my burst for a kick and then stop my burst again for a CC. That just feels incredible, and I love playing with a Vengeance.
This is it, man. This is like the match made in heaven. Discipline Priest and Vengeance DH. It's no wonder, you know, they are dominating like all the meta specs currently. But that doesn't mean other healers or tanks are not doing great. Flamation Prot Warrior, which I feel is another great tank as well.
It's
I definitely
probably tankier than Vengeance.
Yeah, Resto Shaman as a healer as well, which brings a lot more to the party. The most important thing is like, okay, what did you play? Like, do you play Discipline or Vengeance? And if you did, let us know in the comments what was your experience like. Or have you played with a Vengeance or a Discipline priest?
Yeah.
How did that feel? Did you feel safe? Did you feel, I don't know. Just let us know in the comments. It just happens that I main Discipline Priest, but to be fair, I always play Discipline Priest whenever I went to healing. So this is no surprise. If I'm going to heal, I'm going to be Discipline Priest.
Yeah, I'm probably going to switch to Vengeance right now.
So if we're going to have the 100% disc Vengeance meta over here. Let us know what you think, and also check this video out to understand the top 5 easiest specs you can play in Mythic Plus and have a great time and push content and who knows, push rating. It's all there with the rotations and talents and like we used to do. Check it out.
Push it.